or should I say Mitro? Welcome to our new podcast, Hindu Muslim Hi Hi, presented by Ghadar Radio. I'm your host, Prerna,
And I am your co host, Miraj.
and we're going to talk about culture and politics from the Indian diaspora and India because we thought that this world needs one more podcast. Because why not, right? After the year all of us have had, we need more content in our lives. We are going to talk about different films or music and literature, which informs politics. So, we are going to talk about progressive NRI politics and what actions are happening around the world. And I think that is a good summary of what we're going to talk about. And we are hoping that it'll be entertaining while also being informative. So, Miraj was the one who came to me with this idea. And I think I should let him talk about why.
So at Ghadar, we are bringing organizations from around the world of the diaspora, Indian diaspora, who are involved in political activism and advocacy to talk about what has been going on, to discuss. So for that, we publish a newsletter every month, which is right now we are sending it through email in a PDF format. And over the time, I realized that through that mode, we are not able to reach out to as many people and as diverse an audience as we wanted to. So I thought maybe it is a better idea to use podcast in a way which is more approachable, which is more palatable to general audience, and not just talk to activists in a way. So that was the idea, and through this podcast, we want to showcase all the work that has been going on, all the amazing work that has been going on in the Indian diaspora across the world. So that was the idea in starting this podcast.
And we also just wanted to have fun, guys. We just wanted to talk and rant. That's the objective also, I think. I don't know if
Yes,
Miraj agrees with me.
not to make it too dry. At some point, what happens is that 10 activists get together and start talking about political activism. It becomes so dry that nobody gets anything and you get bored. I get bored.
Yeah, that's why we need our sativas and indicas. So, we just wanted to talk to each other, rant a little bit, and talk to everybody who's going through the same thing. How is our podcast going to work? So, we have three segments. We have Culture Kush, where, like I said, we're going to talk about culture. We're going to talk about films that have come out or that we find interesting, music, again, TV, literature, poems, anything, right? You guys can suggest to us too that you want us to cover. The second segment is called Joint Effort, where we're going to talk about Ghadar as a platform, what the people are doing, what happened in the last month with these global organizations. So, we're going to talk about all of the effort that's happening across the globe. And the third one is called Puff Puff Talk, where we'll get people that we find interesting to talk about various subjects. We are keeping it wide open as of now. And for this podcast, we thought we'll release a teaser to so that you can get to know us better. So we thought we'll introduce each other. So Miraj, you want to say something?
Yes. So I met Prerna in an anti-CA protest that we were doing in LA. That was the I guess the first anti-CA protest that happened here. That's where we met for the first time, and obviously we built a very strong friendship there. So Prerna is a Mumbaiker, and she is a production designer by profession. Unlike me, she is a very visually oriented person. Um, you can guess why she is a production designer. So that's why I wanted to team up with her on this podcast, because she's a production designer. She can take me to a real movie set so I can see what actually goes, because I always wonder, like, what goes behind this camera. Like, a camera is showing somebody, but I know that there is a crowd of people standing somewhere, so I want to see where they are standing. you know what's going on. So yeah, I have a question for you. Talking about your profession, is I always wanted to ask you this: is you have to work with a movie director, if you have to design a set for somebody, who would that be?
Okay, so I'm gonna stick to an Indian director, Vishal Bhardwaj. I think he's brilliant. He's done movies. I don't know if you know him, but I'm going to tell you anyway.
I know he is a famous director, but yeah, I don't really know like all the movies that he has directed. I can't really. That's not on top of my head.
Okay, so Vishal Bhardwaj has made movies like Omkara, he's made Maqbool, he's made Kamine, he's made Matru Ki Bijli Ka Mandola. He's made a lot of obviously Shakespeare adaptations and he's done a brilliant job at it. He's also a music composer and he writes his own films. Like, it can't get more modern era Kishore Kumar than that, right? What I like about his movies are that they're always quirky and funny, even if tragic. So it's sort of mainstream, but very intelligent. So it's, I would like to work with him. I think he's nice and brilliant. So, Vishal Bhardwaj, if you're hearing, you have a production designer ready for you. Yeah, I think that's my dream director. I hope he's not an asshole. Okay, if you're listening to this, you're not an asshole.
If you're using this podcast for a job interview, you're not doing a great job.
Sorry, Vishal. Don't listen to anything we said. Please, I want to work with you.
Okay, so I have two more questions for you. If you wish you could have designed a set, like you see a set in a movie or something, and you're like, oh, I wish I could have designed a set like this. So what would that set be?
I think I would want to design The Favorite. It's a period movie, Victorian England, and it's about these three women. What was awesome about the design in that movie was that it you don't have to be period specific. It was about these three characters and being strong women and their politics, even though it was like mirroring the country's politics, but it was about them and these three women. And the production designer, Fiona Cramway, she didn't stick to, oh, you know what, this has to be from the 1800s, like this has to be exactly that. She had so much fun with it. She covered like this whole like the queen's chambers with rugs and tapestries. She just did what she wanted to, and I was like, damn, I should have designed that. Like, I love period movies. I think they take you into a different world. I mean, movies generally do that, but I am very interested in history, so that was a very eye-opening movie for me.
So last question, what brings you to activism?
I went to architecture school in India in undergrad, and I think it sort of started from there. At least the seed was sown there, where I started seeing the world bigger than my bubble and myself. And there were movies like Bombay Aa Sheher, like Mumbai Aa City by Anand Patwardhan, and like the book Everybody Loves a Good Drought by P. Sainath. So I read those in college. We didn't hear about the caste system much because we are upper caste rich brats. So I read all that and I was like, there's so much going on in this world, and I'm very empathetic. I realized after that I could like feel what somebody else is going through, and that's where it all sort of started. Like, at least I was like thinking about how I could help, but I had no way of doing that. I didn't have enough activist friends, or I didn't know people. Everybody was just worried about which next movie to watch. So then when I moved here and then I saw like the anti-CAA protests and how it had gone all crazy with JNU and Aligarh Muslim University, and I just felt like it could be me there, getting hit by police and the goons, that entered the universities. So it just felt like I was there, and that's when I decided, okay, this is too much, and we have to do something in LA as well to like raise awareness, and that's when it started. Maybe this is a very like long roundabout way of saying it, but yes. So it's sort of like I started taking part in protests in India, and then I think over here it's sort of increase my worldview enough that I was more objective being away from home. You know, the helplessness that comes with being away from home and not being able to do anything.
What happened during that time last year December was like I was involved in, not, I won't say activism, but I was active. But
You
that
mean
was
2019 December? We forget COVID had a year.
no one remembers 2020. 2020 just never happened. It's we have I think that we have all erased 2020 from our memory. It's still haunting, but it's like a bad nightmare. You wake up, you wish that, okay, I hope that did not happen.
Yeah, 2020 we will have another podcast on 2020.
2020 is a dark hole. No, nobody wants to go back to it.
Let's talk about Miraj, right? So Miraj is a microbiologist, which is so far away from what I do. But he's our resident Bihari Babu. And, you know, he also writes poetry, which is amazing. And it's always like hard hitting. And sometimes I'm like, how are you writing these words? Like, tell me more about that. And at work, he just watches cells grow and get destroyed and experiment on them. And then that's his cycle of life and the cells that he grows. I mean, I visited his lab and it was cool, but also I was like, how do you sit in this place for like the whole day? Where my job is like just on my feet like 12 hours a day. So it's a very different world than mine. And I appreciate what he does. So it's great. And then he knows, as I said, so much about Urdu poetry. But if you tell him one Indian actor that's from the last 10 years, he won't know. Miraj, do you know Varun Dhawan?
I No picture comes to my mind, but I have heard the name.
Great. Awesome. So that's what you're dealing with, guys. Just letting you know, giving you a little preview. He's going to try to be funny and then fail, and I will just troll him. But okay, I have a question for you. Who is your role model, dead or alive?
I like Faz as a poet, and I have read about him because he is my favorite poet, and he is like one of those people who's very involved in his life. So yeah, amazing poet, activist, and when you read his poetry, the kind of person he is, he's very empathetic. His poems speak like you can feel that the words that he's saying come straight from his heart. So yeah, he is my ideal. Like I would like to idolize him.
Follow up. Can you tell us your favorite Fairs code?
चंद रोज और मेरी जान फकत चंद ही रोज.
That's great. I know Fairs from 1942, A Love Story. Ye Safar Bada Katan. That song. That's my knowledge base. And then the last question, which is borrowed from you, what brings you to activism?
So the strongest motivation for me to be into activism is when I see injustice, and that is what brought me to activism in the beginning. And I still don't really feel very comfortable calling myself an activist because there are so many amazing people who have spent their lives, who have all they have done in their lives is to try to go out there and try to make a change genuinely, like dedicated their whole lives in that.
So, can we call ourselves pseudo activists?
Maybe noob activists.
We can call ourselves noobs, I guess.
Yeah, noobs.
Yeah, because all we're doing is a podcast. Let's not take
Yeah.
ourselves too seriously. So, guys, that wraps up our first teaser episode of Hindu Muslim Hi Hi by Ghadar Radio. Hope you guys subscribe and like. And what is our social media handle?
So please follow us on our social media handles on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. It's the Ghadar. THE_GHADAR. We will upload the links. We share all the content that we put through our newsletter. We share what has been going on in the diaspora in terms of political activism. So follow us, and we'll see you again next month, first Sunday, when we'll release the first episode.